Laura, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time here on the Midday View on ENCA. United Nations earlier reporting suspending flights. What's the flight situation? Can we begin there? Are you able to fly in and out all sorts of help to Cabo Delgado?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. My name, as you said, is Laura Tomm-Bonde, and I'm the Chief of Mission for the International Agency for Migration. We also known as the UN Migration Agency. Certainly, IOM, including other UN agencies and other partners, humanitarian partners, continue to assess and deliver aid to incoming IDPs, which are also internally displaced people and people on the move. IOM is running a large humanitarian life-saving operation to respond to the immediate needs of the IDPs and other vulnerable communities across the country, and we continue to scale up our response due to the sharply deteriorating situation in northern Mozambique currently right now. Just to note, IOM continues to work in close collaboration with the National Institute for Disaster Management and Risk Reduction, also called INGD, to provide logistical and technical support, including a number of humanitarian response efforts, for example, providing fuel for transportation of IDPs between points of arrivals and drop-off and transit areas. Also working very closely with the government, who have set up a reception center for the arrivals that came on boat over the last several days, as you may have noted through other media reports. This has been set up. We are monitoring and assisting this transit center, and it was set up in the Centro Sportivo in Pemba. We're monitoring IDP arrivals across 16 sites in the districts of Matuj, Montepuez, Shuri, and Nkwabi through a network of key IOM informants across the province of Cabo Delgado. And we have a large-scale response, which really stems and has grown after the Kenneth cyclone in 2019, and this continued to grow since 2019 due to the ongoing conflict in the north. Response includes shelter, NFIs, mental health and psychosocial support, including counseling to those people who have experienced trauma due to the movement, basic medical assistance such as providing masks, soap and water due to the COVID, crutches, wheelchairs, and so on and so forth, and working very closely with our partners, WHO, UNICEF, the government, in order to respond to these medical needs. As well, IOM leads and has a strong CCCM, which is the Camp Coordination and Camp Management, and we continue to help the government through this mechanism to support areas of where large IDPs are arriving to.
Now, Laura, how many people are affected currently? How many people is the United Nations trying to assist? I mean, there's different numbers that have been covered about the numbers of people who have been displaced. Is about 800,000 people have fled from Cabo Delgado to neighboring Nampula province, Nyasa province.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that question. Right now, IOM has what we call the Displacement Tracking Matrix, and this is a methodology that we use to track people on the move and monitoring the situation. It provides really good data in order to inform our humanitarian response, providing to all partners, including the government, so we have an idea of the movement of peoples. Right now, our reports, as of yesterday, we had 11,650 people on the move as a result of the latest attacks, and some have been displaced in Pemba. Just over 1,800 have currently been displaced in Pemba, although other districts have received a lot more. This recent displacement from Palma is in addition to the more than 670,000 persons internally displaced in northern Mozambique, which includes Cabo Delgado, Nampula, Nyasa, and so on, due to the continued attacks in Cabo Delgado since October 2017.
That means you've got much more than 700,000 people who fled their homes, and the recent conflict, the recent attacks have made the situation worse. Are you and your fellow agencies, partners of the United Nations, able to reach the people who fled from there and give them aid as well in the neighboring parts of northern Mozambique, like in Nyasa province and Nampula?
Yeah, so together with all of the humanitarian partners, including UN agencies, international NGOs, local NGOs, and of course, with the leadership from the government, we have been responding over the since really 2017, but in particular, we saw an increase in the movement this last year, 2020, and then into 2021. The humanitarian needs are increasing with the continuous influx of internally displaced people into Pemba and into southern districts, as well as neighboring provinces, including Nampula, Niassa, and just a few down into the Zambezia province. Many of the IDPs continue to hide in forests, attempt to walk for long hours in the forest to safer areas, and that's generally them trying to come southward, because southward is where the safer areas are. Those who've managed to survive were separated from their loved ones with only clothes on their backs. For example, around 122 unaccompanied children have been separated from their families, and certain UN agencies, including IOM, but certainly UNICEF, are responding to those unique needs of unaccompanied children. Mental health and psychosocial counseling and protection assistance has already been provided to hundreds of displaced people through IOM's MHPSS response. Many IDPs are in need of temporary accommodation, and most are being currently hosted by communities. As I mentioned before in your earlier question, the government has established a transit center at the Sports Center complex in Pemba, and IOM's Camp Coordination Camp Management, CCCM, cluster continues to support the INGD in setting up the improvements at this site, as well as offering immediate humanitarian response to nearly 400 individuals.
Okay.
Also, COVID-19 and cholera remain a concern, and measures are being taken to prevent the spread aligned with the Mozambican government's national guidelines.
Thank you very much for your time this on the midday view on ENCA here in Johannesburg. That's Laura Tomm-Bonde talking to us from Maputo. She's from the United Nations International Organization for Migration.